the premise of the Build Back Better Act, as I understand it, is to have a positive economic effect over the long term by encouraging people to join and remain in the workforce. A lot of attention has gone into the overall size of the bill, and people tend to talk about it as a quote unquote reconciliation act, which is kind of difficult for people to understand what that means. So these provisions that are intended to enhance long-term economic growth, are there some that you think would be particularly good at doing that?
I think the general theme of the Build Back Better approach is what you might call democratic supply side economics. That is, it focuses on human capital and the role of human capital in the economy. So there's an emphasis on education, there's an emphasis on childcare, there's an emphasis on healthcare, housing affordability, things that you wouldn't necessarily directly think of as boosting the size of the economy. But when you think about actually how people live and what enables them to work and what enables them to be productive, these are the types of things that people have in mind. So I think the goals are good ones. There's a tremendous amount of evidence that government intervention in social policy and health policy can have very positive long-term consequences for the economy. It's not something that's going to pay off necessarily in the next 6 months, but in terms of building back better, which is a well-chosen phrase here, this is the type of thing that the economy needs, especially coupled with the infrastructure package, which is moving on a parallel course.
So, and the method of paying for it now, as a deficit hawk, of course, I always worry about is stuff going to be paid for. So it's positive. It's a positive sign that that there are attempts made to make sure that the bill would be paid for. So on the revenue side, is that equally pro-growth, do you think, or would it generate enough revenue to cover the new spending?
I think the deficit issue right now is second or third order compared to the structural issues that are being discussed on both the tax and the spending side. I say that as someone who's long been concerned about budget deficits, who's written a book about long-term budget deficits, et cetera. But I think right now the structural change in the economy is the first order issue, and getting a system in place to finance it over time is the next issue. But whether the bill literally pays for itself or not, I don't think is that important, especially given that they're basically in the ballpark in terms of the level of revenues. The bigger issue to me is the structure of revenues, and I think the nicest thing you can say there is the Democrats have been searching for a politically feasible set of revenue increases that where political feasible means getting the support of enough people in Congress. I think the original package had enough support in the public, but the way Congress is set up, you need a majority in both the House and the Senate. And of course, the two senators have been holding out, Sinema and Manchin. But frankly, in the current situation in the Senate, every Democrat is the marginal vote. And so every Democrat has a say in what goes in the final package. And that, we know, is a recipe for a poorly designed economic package. And so you've seen them throw out a number of ideas, or not even consider a number of ideas that I think would have been very good, which would be tightening up the estate tax, eliminating the pass-through deduction, taxing capital gains at death. All those things would raise money in a progressive fashion and not do any particular harm to the economy. Those are all off the table. And now we're talking about things like the AMT and raising the top tax rate, items which are going to increase tax avoidance considerably. But I mean, the main message is the economic considerations and the political feasibility considerations don't seem to line up very well.